Welcome to the 49 Yard Dash podcast, the podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, and of course, joined by my good friend and co-host, Josh LaFawn. Well, we got to see the first game, this preseason, of the new Trey Lance-led 49ers, and that's what we're here to talk about, as well as some new things coming out even as we are recording here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Once again, we welcome you to the 49 Yard Dash podcast, the podcast on your San Francisco 49ers. And as mentioned before, we got to see the 49ers play their first preseason game last weekend. We're recording this on Wednesday now, so they're having a joint practice, Minnesota too. So we got some things to talk about, man. But as far as that preseason game, the 49ers got a victory, 28-21. What stood out to you, man? Let's just jump into it.
That the Packers wasted a first-round pick on Jordan Love when you could have been given Aaron Rodgers more weapons. 13 for 24 with 3 interceptions. Looked pretty atrocious. And the funny thing was Danny Etling, the former LSU Tiger great, go Tigers. He goes 6 for 8 for $123 and a touchdown, so he looks like the better of them. So yeah, I feel bad for Packers fans, but I digress. Besides the point, as far as with the 49ers, Trey Lance looked awesome. I know we'll talk about him more in depth in a minute, but had a perfect passer rating. The one ball he has was inches away from being ruled to catch. Not even inches, really, probably centimeters. Thought Brock Purdy looked very good, mobile in the backup quarterback role. Nate Sudfeld's stats were probably a little deceiving, going 8 for 11 for about 100 yards.
I thought that too.
I do like Brock Purdy, as I've kind of been beating that drum as a long-term backup. Like him a lot. And I guess one thing, I know I'm kind of rambling, we're all over the place, but just kind of the heavy hitters. And I'll try to leave some on the bone for you. Kind of disappointed in Trey Sermon. Couldn't even average 2 yards a carry, but a little bit disappointed in Ty Davis-Price. Did kind of expect to see him have some mobility, but he's got less vision than Elijah Mitchell, at least in that one game. He dives in the line head first. There's no cut at the line. There's nothing, which that was always Elijah Mitchell's knock, but he might not have a ton of mobility and agility, but he's got something. Davis had a drop as well. Davis-Price had a drop as well, too. So, again, the curse of the third-round running backs. Does Trey Sermon make the final cut? We'll see. But he looked like crap, and Ty Davis-Price didn't impress me a ton either. So, just, as far as the backup job, questions there. The running back stable outside of Elijah Mitchell, definitely questions there as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And sorry, you bringing up the first portion about Jordan Love I had to just go look something up.
Did you look up who got took right after him?
Yeah. So let me if you're the Packers,
okay.
would you rather have a backup quarterback that'll never see the field or T. Higgins?
What team am I drafting for? You said the Packers. Does Jordan Love, in theory, have any positional flexibility? Can he go into this? Okay. Well, is he a locker room guy?
No.
Okay. Does he get along with my current quarterback?
I don't think so. But I will say that I don't know if your current quarterback gets along with anyone. But yeah.
Well, it seemed like he got along real well with the number one wide receiver that he was under the assumption was going to re-sign.
That's very true.
It also seems like he kind of jives a little bit with his last head coach and current one. So, I don't know, man. It's a tough decision. Do the Packers need weapons? Last thing I'll ask. Do they need any wide receivers at this current
I'll say this, at this very moment, they would benefit from having T. Higgins on the roster.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll have to think about it. After that great debate, the 2 minutes is up and we've lost our draft pick. So Move on to the next one. It sucks for them, though, man. Oh, my God.
Do you mind? Let me just read a few.
Yeah, sure.
So T. Higgins, Michael Pittman was the very next. DeAndre Swift, who I know they have Aaron Jones.
Still.
Jonathan Taylor. Antoine Winfield Jr., KJ Hamler, Chase
one thing I'll mention
Claypool.
real quick before you keep naming names.
Yes.
Sure, they had Aaron Jones. They just drafted what's-his-face from Boston College, A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon. Yeah.
They drafted him high as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They drafted him after you could have gotten Taylor or Swift. And then, like you said, Chase Claypool's not a bad option even. God almighty.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I think Chase Claypool right now would be their best receiver, right? I mean, he's better than Allen Lazard, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think he's better than rookie Christian Watson or Romeo. I've heard people say Dubs and Dobbs. I don't know which one is correct at this point, but whatever Romeo's last name is.
I'm calling him Dobbs.
Okay, yeah. Romeo Dobbs, he played pretty solid. Who did he beat on that fade route? I can't remember.
It wasn't Ambry.
Touchdown. No, it wasn't.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know, right? I can't remember who he beat.
Oh, it was Garcuz Denard?
I think it was, because that's who just got cut.
I was thinking he got beat. Yeah. We'll talk about him in a minute. Yeah. I don't want to keep beating the Packers drum, so if you don't mind, if you want to make a closing call after this, it's fine. But I just want to mention one thing, and that is that truly does speak to the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. That ownership and incompetent management has prevented him from winning multiple Super Bowls. He still managed to get to one. Has never missed the playoffs hasn't missed the playoffs since he won that Super Bowl. He's a baller. As long as he's healthy and starting that whole season, I guess I should preface it with. But he's a baller, and for them to get all the way there, dealing with all the injuries they had with Randall Cobb, who now is back, Jordy Nelson, who was always hurt every other year, never having a consistent tight end, never having a dynamic running back. I mean, heck, they drafted a defensive tackle to play running back in Eddie Lacy. So, it really does it does speak to how great of a quarterback he is, that despite that madness, they have done what they've done. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we're probably some of the few 49ers fans that don't just hate Aaron Rodgers to the point of, we can't say anything positive about him. Yeah. I'm one of the only 49ers fan who actually would say likes Aaron Rodgers. Don't attack me. I like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. He's of all the quarterbacks I've ever laid my eyes on, he's the one that I just enjoy watching play football the most. I'm not saying he's the greatest of all time, but he's just the one that to me is the most aesthetically pleasing to watch. He's just such a pretty ball, ridiculous ball placement. It just comes out so quick. It's unbelievable. So enough with the Packers crap. Yeah, we got to stop talking about Packers. I kind of gave the rundown. I guess I gave probably about 3 takeaways. What are your 3 takeaways from the game? Aside from Trey Lance. Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to preface that. Yeah, my biggest one outside of Trey Lance was Samuel Womack, man. It seems like that dude has really asserted himself as the slot guy. Mm-hmm. And he had 2 picks in that game. One was like a tip, but even outside of the picks, man, he just right place, right time, stayed on his man's hip almost all night. And he looks like a really, really good slot guy. No, he does, and that's what you want out of a slot corner too. Mm-hmm. Someone who's just aggressive and plays fearless. And if he gets burned on a pass, he gets burned on a pass. But have someone who's fearless. And he was a 5th rounder, I believe, right? Yeah, 5th rounder out of Toledo. Yep, I knew it was Toledo. Yeah. So, man, another example of the 49ers finding something in the 5th round specifically. Yeah. I don't know what it is about the 5th and 6th. Yeah. Yeah. So that was really Danny Gray obviously caught the bomb from Trey Lance, and even the out route that him and Trey Lance didn't quite connect on. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have said that ball sailed. I don't think it sailed. I think Trey Lance was a little bit late. He hit Danny Gray in the right spot. It's just Danny Gray wasn't able to get both feet down. But the effort that he put, he almost got both feet down despite it being a little bit late, maybe a tad high. So, I mean, only a couple targets from Lance to Gray there, but I thought he did really, really well with both of them. And now I think
playing against the Vikings today in the joint practice. He caught another like 60-yard bomb or something like that. It looks awesome.
Yeah. No, he looks like a game changer, which we were wondering here a couple weeks ago when camp started if he could even make the roster next year. That he could be a potential cut candidate next year if he doesn't contribute this year.
Yeah.
And now he's the star of the preseason game. Has an element to the offense that probably was already there, at least from a schematic standpoint. But now with the quarterback who actually can get the ball to him and the player who can take the top off the defense, which we haven't seen a player like that at all in the Shanahan era. Haven't seen a player like that in the 49ers uniform since probably Torrey Smith.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that was in a whole other regime with incompetent quarterback play. So the dynamic that he's had, it seems like it's what Shanahan's always wanted. And maybe they never invested in that because they didn't have the right quarterback to justify that investment. But it's just awesome to see. Nothing like just a bomb pass.
Yeah, right. No, that was awesome to see. Do you want to – I have some, I guess, losers of the last few days as well.
Yeah.
Well, guy who got cut today, Darqueze Dennard. Obviously, Samuel Womack's emergence is part of why that is. And with the same line of thinking, I think Lenoir to an extent. And maybe he becomes a good depth piece, but we kind of had an idea at this point in time last year that maybe he was the guy who would emerge as the guy who takes K'Wan Williams' spot in that slot and really solidifies himself there. But it seems like Womack has passed him up already too.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Lenoir was in competition for that spot. It's almost like the 49ers were hoping he could be a six-man role as like a fill-in nickel, a fill-in outside.
Kind of like Dante Johnson is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example because I think that's exactly what they wanted out of him, a personal piece. And then Ambry is your developmental guy to be an outside corner strictly, which I think is why you will continue to see them invest in him longer term. It doesn't even matter the draft capital. They still view him as a developmental piece, I feel like. With Lenoir, though he is developing, now all of a sudden he's getting beat out in his second year by a fifth-round rookie when that job was there for the taking. You've had the opportunity coming into this camp just to plant Ambry as an outside corner with his struggles, and it doesn't seem like that's happened. Ambry definitely got earlier playing time, which in a preseason game usually dictates where you're standing at on the depth chart, which why Sudfeld went in before Purdy, et cetera. That's a pretty good indication, right? That guys are going to play first if they're higher up on the depth chart. So he just seems like the odd man out at this point. I don't know if there's room for a Dante Johnson long term. And if there's not room for him long term, then there's definitely not room for a guy whose ceiling is that.
Right. Yeah. No, that's essentially what I was thinking too. And kind of the same line as, and I don't think this guy looked bad at all, but Mason, the running back, I thought he played pretty solid, but it's just such a deep running back room that I think he could be a solid player that doesn't make it.
Yeah. And it's one of those interesting things where you sign Ray McLeod, you draft Danny Gray, you've got Jawan Jennings, you've got Ayuk, you've got Samuel. 49ers probably would have liked to carry maybe an extra wide receiver due to those injuries to Deebo last year and things, or maybe they wanted to carry that or maybe take one less wide receiver and dedicate that spot to a running back. But at this point, I don't know how you can cut any of those five wide receivers. They all bring a different element. You got your two starters. They got your three guys that are going to interchange a lot there. In the backfield, maybe this is a year where they don't carry that extra running back. We know what Jeff Wilson is. We know what JaMychal Hasty is. They get put on a practice squad. They're getting picked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I doubt Trey Sermon gets cut and put on the practice squad. Well, let's say he does. Well, he's still a third-round pick. He's still going to have potential in teams' eyes. They're going to poach him as well. So it does feel like Mason, he's got the least invested in him. It really feels like he's the odd man out, like you said.
Right, yeah. Because, I mean, of course, you have Elijah Mitchell. Trey Sermon's probably going to make it, partially because of the draft capital. Jeff Wilson, Ty Davis Price. That's 4 guys off the top of my
Michael
head.
Hasty.
Michael Hasty,
Yeah.
that's 5 guys already that are all solid players that you're comfortable with playing.
And I don't know how you carry 5 running backs, let alone 6 with Jordan Mason. Mason definitely feels like a P squad candidate if he can make it through waivers. Hope he sticks there because we see what 3 running backs a game typically for Shanny. 25 and 2 carries, generally something like that. You need depth there. It's just how much do you invest into those guys? And I do like Jordan Mason better than Sermon at this point, but you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater if there's still something left in his tank.
Right, yeah. And you mentioned the wide receivers too. I really like the top 6 targets on the 49ers, man. I mean, it doesn't get much better than I'm including George Kittle in that. That's why I say 6. So you had George Kittle, who me and you believe to be the best tight end in football. We have Samuel, who, I mean, as a pure wide receiver, you can debate where he ranks, but obviously he's one of the more dynamic weapons in the NFL. Brandon Ayuk and Trey Lance seem to have this wonderful connection, and we think that Brandon Ayuk is more talented than he has even showed so far. But then you got Ray and Danny Gray as speed threats, and then your big slot and Juwan Jennings. Like, man, this is a really good group of pass catchers.
No, it is, and I think that's why you're going to see the 49ers not even carry 5 running backs. They've got to make room for that 5th wide receiver, which we haven't always seen. The nice thing now is you don't necessarily have to carry one of them because you need a kick return. Ray McLeod has been a primarily special teams guy in his career. Danny Gray, at least with his speed, maybe not the punt game, but at least in top end speed, can show you something in kick return as well. So again, it's like, running backs is hard enough. Who are we going to cut down from Wilson, Hasty, Sermon, Davis, Price, and Mitchell? We got to loosen that here. But then in the wide receiver game, I don't know how you cut any of those guys.
Right. No, it's an awesome group. It's on a while, I think. I feel really good about it. And even if a Debo goes down, then you can have Ayuk as your 1. Obviously, still have Kittle in the middle. And then one of Gray or McLeod is probably the other outside guy, and you can still rotate 2 guys in the slot.
I can't ever remember having my favorite player on the team, and I wouldn't say that's the case now, but at least growing up, I've never had a favorite player on my team be a wide receiver. At least with the 49ers. At least during our time, it was always Gore and Davis, and then it was kind of a rotating cast during the Harbaugh era. You did have Anquan Bolden, and he was great, but he was not my cup of tea as far as what I like in a wide receiver. He was a gritty guy, and that's awesome.
Crabtree.
And
he was always.
Don't talk about the best, but
as a wide receiver, 1 maybe.
And I guess that's the point. I guess that's the point. Is there's never been in the last 20 years since Terrell Owens got out. There hasn't been a stable of wide receivers who you feel confident in all of them contributing. There's no Jonathan Baldwin's on this team. There's not. So you got to like what the 49ers are doing. It's not just
you don't have to rely on Marquise Goodwin.
Exactly. It's a good spot to be in.
Yeah. Any other notes that you had from the preseason game? Oh, right as you take a swig.
No, it's all right. No. Again, you kind of touched on it all. I did like Oren Burks a lot. Thought he contributed real well. Going to make it real hard for him to be strictly a special teamer, I think. I think you're going to see him a lot in some jumbo packages and stuff. Go ahead.
No. I'll remember.
Okay. No, sure. And again, we kind of looking through the stat column here, see if there's any guys I was forgetting. I will be curious to see how that safety rotation works out, though.
Definitely.
Who goes next to Jimmy Ward between Moore, Hufanga, and Berg?
Well, speaking of that, apparently Ward's hamstring is a little more serious than they thought, and they're worried he could actually miss some regular season games. So that would be terrible. But
when did this report come out? The last one I saw was he was questionable for a week.
Well, it's funny. I actually didn't see it. I heard it.
Okay.
I think from Peacock today.
Okay. Yeah, it might be the same report then. They were saying that he
Okay.
had some kind of hamstring contusion and was looking like he could be out for week 1.
Okay. Well, hopefully not, but at least it's Chicago.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to have to worry about them having a dynamic passing attack.
Yeah, for real. No. But the thing I was going to mention is it seems like Nick Bosa's got one side, but it seems like it's Samson Ibukam and Drake Jackson kind of really battling for that spot. So that's kind of what we were hoping to see.
Yeah, no, I completely missed on Drake Jackson. I saw one 49ers guy say he's going to be better than Hutchinson and Walker. I don't know about that. But
we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, just to have a guy who, again, like Womack, who is just aggressive and might make mistakes, and he might whiff on a tackle, and he might, miss the ball carrier, or let the guy slip through his hands, or get stood up. But he's going to play aggressive, at least based on that first game, and that's what you want out of a guy opposite Nick Bosa, is a guy who's just going to go 110 miles an hour every down, and then when he's gassed, sub him out for a guy who's going to do the same thing. I don't need a technical fit. I don't need a Von Miller on that side. Just give me a guy who's aggressive and can just get after the quarterback and get in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, the thing we got to at least mention is Trey Lance. So he was 4 or 5 on the game. Was it 92 yards? 92 yards, a touchdown, and a perfect quarterback rating of 158.3. So obviously the big chunk of that coming on the touchdown to Danny Gray. It was a 76-yard touchdown. Perfectly placed deep ball. I mean, just right in the bread in stride. He didn't have to slow down at all. It was perfect.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. I ended up having a hard time with my signal getting to watch the entire game. I kept having to reconnect, but that was the one play when everything cut in.
Sweet.
I got to see that live, so that was awesome. But yeah, no, he looks like the real deal. Seems like the team's rallying around him. Seems like his release definitely. People always talk about that. I couldn't care less what a guy's shooting form is in basketball, what his golf swing is, where his arm angle's at with the football. What it comes down to is how your body is turning towards the target. You see that with Reggie Miller and his jump shot. It's the ugliest jump shot in history, probably next to Sean Marion, and he's arguably a top 3 shooter of all time. Some people would still say even the best over Curry. Some old heads would be sure to say that. But the thing about his shot, when you look at it, it's his shoulder, his hips, his feet. When it was released, were always aligned to the basket. Same thing in football. You got some guys with some awkward releases. Even Mahomes with his sidearm stuff, Stafford, their shoulders, their hips, their feet are all going towards the target, even though the arm angle might look goofy. So I didn't expect Trey Lance's form to change. I'm glad it didn't. But when you watch his improvement, the short story long I'm getting to, his feet looked way steadier. He didn't look rushed in the pocket. That ball to Gray was just such a flick. It wasn't a Brady. Yeah, it did. It wasn't a Brady or Rodgers-esque form. But he didn't look hurried. He didn't look hurried like last year. His feet, his hips, his shoulders were all aligned towards that target, which you saw him not be at times last year. So he's cleaned up the things that he needed to clean up. At least that's what I saw in the preseason game, without losing what made him special and what made him comfortable with his release and his mechanics.
Yes. And 2 things. One, him looking comfortable and confident was really good to see. That's things I was looking for. Does he look like he is well aware that this is his team? Yeah. He's the quarterback one. And to me, I know it was only 5 throws, but and I love that play where he was going to scramble, but he stops right before the line of scrimmage to act like he's about to throw and then takes off again. Defense, that was really cool. And then, did you see anything about Kyle Shanahan explaining why he wanted Trey Lance over Mac Jones?
I did not. I meant to watch that video and forgot about it until now. So be sure to wet my ears.
Oh, yeah. Buying a house. He said sometimes when you look at a house, you might even point out some flaws. It's like, man, this house really needs painted, it needs new floors, whatever. But then you can also sit back and look and be like, man, but if I do fix those things, this is going to look nice. And that's how he said he looked at Trey Lance. Like, he's got a couple things that he needs to work on, but man, if we can fix those, we got something nice here. And that was basically the difference, he said. Yeah.
No, that's definitely interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes you wonder why the Justin Fields thing didn't happen. I don't think it was character issues. I do think maybe it was some foundation issues if you're going to compare it to a house. No, that's definitely really interesting. Have you kept up with Mac at all? Speaking of the devil, see how he's looked in preseason?
Well, so I haven't read a whole lot about Mac specifically, but I have seen that the Patriots offense as a whole has been utterly horrible based on the things that I've read. Yeah. I mean, Matt Patricia Cohen plays.
Got into an argument with the guy who said people were questioning Patricia were stupid because he has offensive experience. Matt Patricia coached the offensive line for 1 year at community college. That's the extent of his offensive experience.
That ain't calling plays in the NFL, buddy.
He's been a defensive coach his entire career. I don't know, man. I am curious. I know I don't want to spend again too much time on it, but it is a guy that we really stressed about for a long time that he would potentially be our franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
I hope it works out for him. We have friends that are great fans of his. I don't even know if he'll get to Kirk Cousins level on a consistent basis. Kirk Cousins played for some really bad teams, and he still looked like a mediocre level starting quarterback. I do worry for Mac in that instance that you never root for anyone's downfall, but for him, I do worry for his potential that you're playing behind not quite a decimated offensive line, but you lose some key pieces there. You have absolutely no weapons on offense that can seem to stay healthy. You've got Damian Harris as your feature back, and you've got a 400-pound defensive-minded coach calling plays. That screams conservative play calling. So we'll see what works out for him. I just have no confidence in Jarvis Landry and Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry saving the job.
Yeah. I got one positive thing and then one negative thing.
Okay.
Positive thing is when Mac Jones was coming out of college, I said that I thought his ceiling, best case scenario, was Kirk Cousins. And I think I sold him a little bit short. So after his rookie year, I decided I think he's more like Matt Ryan, who's a good quarterback. Yeah, right? I mean, there's no scrub whatsoever. He did win an MVP, but that was mainly the offensive scheme and all that. Yeah. No one ever thought he was the best quarterback in the league or in contention of it. And I don't think Mac Jones ever will be. But again, ceiling is very best case. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not even saying he will be on Matt Ryan's level. But so that's the positive thing is I did up my Mac Jones ceiling a little bit last year.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, yeah. But the negative thing is I do think that they will go 7-10 this year. That's my prediction.
Yeah, let's see. Just for kicks and giggles. I had them at 7-10 as well.
Wow, nice.
From our division ranking. So Anyway, I'm just glad we have Trey Lance.
I do need to look again because part of my and this is the case with everybody, but Cleveland was really hard to predict because you don't really know what you're getting. So I think I had them at like 5 or 6 wins or something like that. But if they have Deshaun for 11 games, then I might need to up that. But we'll just have to wait and see about that one. So, you can't bet on – there's no over-under for Cleveland's win total right now because they don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's smart because if you hammer the over and anticipate Deshaun not being suspended the whole year, then you're going to win a crap ton of money. And if you hammer the under thinking he will be, you're also going to win a ton of money.
Yeah, right. No,
nobody beats the house.
Yeah, right. No, they know what they're doing up there in Vegas, man.
No, they do. They do. Looking at I'll kind of transition it. Looking at this joint practice.
Uh-huh.
Again, we talked about Danny Gray.
Yeah.
You almost got me to say Green again. Talking about Danny Gray, did you notice who he caught the ball over?
Patrick Peterson, right?
No, he's an
Yeah, so it
aging
was
veteran.
no backup corner.
Still, yeah, of course he is an aging veteran, but it wasn't Josh Norman level aging veteran. Dude can still ball. So,
dude, I got to run this one by you. Something I just Drake Jackson nickname poll. There are 4 options. Okay. Drake Saxon.
horrible.
Dang. Okay. Drake the Snake Jackson.
I don't think you
like
can
that one.
add. I like Drake the Snake, but you can't add Jackson in.
Saxon Jackson or Jackson Saxon. Do you like any of those?
No, I hate them all.
Dang. I kind of like Drake Saxon, the one that you said you hated.
Did you come out with that, or is it on Twitter?
No, it's somebody else. It wasn't me.
Okay, I didn't want to
voted though.
I actually like Action Jackson.
Action is that Lamar
Action?
thing though?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Is it?
I don't know.
Could be.
I feel like that's got to be taken. I don't know though.
Action Jackson.
Yeah, no, I couldn't say it for some reason.
I can't say it either. It's an 80s movie. So, vengeance drives a tough Detroit cop to stay on the trail of a power-hungry auto magnate who is systematically eliminating his competition. So, I guess that's an 80s movie. So,
I also read regarding the joint practices that I think Nick Bosa was giving Minnesota a hard time.
And water, I would say water is wet. Water is not wet. Water is water. So the sky is blue.
Yeah, the sky is definitely blue, obviously. Yeah.
How are you liking Jordan, our new right tackle? Keep blanking on his name. The veteran.
No, you messed me up.
God. You would have thought I would have written it down, but I was just listening to Grant Cohn talk about him. Let's see. Is it Jordan Willis? No, it's not Jordan Willis.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
Shoot. I just looked at a tweet earlier that was it listed.
Well, anyway, while I look for him, so we don't have dead air. Another thing I heard in that Grant Cohn video was that Danielle Hunter was eating Cole McKivitz for lunch.
Yeah.
That's going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean Danielle Hunter, he is a really, really good player when he's healthy. But still, yeah, especially the interior offensive line is it's definitely my biggest worry about this team.
Yeah,
really my only one. I guess safety too if Jimmy Ward has a serious injury. But
Jordan Mills.
Okay, yeah. Man, I couldn't remember for the life of me.
No, I couldn't either. I'm stupid, but yeah. Cohn said it in the video, and I completely agree. If this is the case, that he needs to start at right tackle immediately. That if you've got just anything other than a turnstile at right tackle, I think the offensive line is going to be okay. Definitely some questions at center, which we'll see if that gets resolved or not. But if Jordan Mills can just come in, I know he's been cut probably from 2 or 3 teams in the last couple of years. That hasn't been because of his play. It's been because he's been injured and basically having the same nagging injury that he couldn't heal from. Well, now he's healthy, which is why he's playing really good. If he can just come in, contribute to a McGlinchey-esque level, good McGlinchey, not worried at all about the offensive.
Yeah, no, that would be really nice. And the other thing that is, I don't really think it's a negative because that's just how it's going to be. But I think they're having a hard time with Justin Jefferson too. But
yeah,
I mean, that's Justin Jefferson, though. I mean,
yeah, no. Thank God it's just preseason. Because if a Kirk Cousins-led offense is giving this defense trouble, I don't care who the wide receivers are. I would have questions.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of confidence in the 49ers defense this year. I think it's going to be top 3 unit. Top 3 unit. Yeah.
I concur. I think the secondary has potential to be the best in the league, too.
I'm going
to get there and get some depth and everybody stay healthy.
Yeah. I'm going to say that I think that the tier 1 of defenses this year will be the 49ers, the Bills, and the Packers. I think those will be the 3 best defenses. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
I could definitely see that. Now, kind of wheeling it back into the preseason game. Before we get into talking about it, before we get into making our predictions and score and all that, even though it's just preseason, which I predicted 21-17, I believe, and you were 28-24.
I think
for the Packers game,
right? I think it's the other way around. I was the lower scoring one.
There you go. So we were both pretty close.
Yeah.
But congrats to both of us. That might be the closest we've ever been in our score prediction this last year and a half or whatever.
Well, I mean, technically, I was exactly correct with Week 18, Rams 49ers, but,
congrats. No one cares.
That's true.
Who do you think? I don't want to talk about guys in case this podcast ever gets tens of views.
Okay.
We don't want to talk about players in a bad way as far as for someone losing their job. But without saying who do you think gets cut, who do you think are some guys who are on the chopping block that have to show something in this game, which will actually parlay us into talking about the game, talking about guys we want to see, but who are guys, 3 guys, we can kind of go back and forth here, who need to show something to save their job on this team.
You have anybody in mind? Because I got to think about it, man.
Yeah, Deommodore Lenoir comes to mind immediately for me.
True. Yeah,
he's going to get ample. He's going to get ample playing time. It feels like Minnesota's got some young weapons that they're going to want to showcase. They're going to try to get. Oh my gosh, what's the quarterback from A&M they drafted last year?
From A&M?
Yeah.
Kellen Mond?
Yeah, they're going to get Kellen Mond some playing time this game. They're going to try to show a young offense. So Lenoir is going to have a chance to step up, I think. But definitely feels like this game, maybe not on the stat line, but he needs to really show something.
What about Justin School has been pretty terrible, huh?
Yeah, he has been.
Yeah,
he's been taking
definitely. Yeah, that's true. That's one. Even last week, I was thinking he was in danger for sure. So yeah, I think that would be my first one is Justin School. I know it's obviously very unofficial, and even since they released the unofficial depth chart, a lot has changed. But on the unofficial depth chart that they released like last week or whatever, he was third in the third string of offensive linemen when he was kind of – a lot of people expected maybe he would be clearly in the second unit. So that's rough.
Yeah.
He's been bad.
I am kind of curious to see how many tight ends the 49ers are going to carry. I don't think Ross Dwelley is in danger of losing his job, but you did bring in Tyler Kroft. You got Kittle, who's firmly established, obviously, and then Werner's kind of right behind that. I would be curious to see what Dwelley can show. I've always felt like the 49ers probably view Werner a little bit more than Dwelley. They both get a ton of playing time. Yeah. But if the cuts were getting close, want to see Dwelley make more of an impact this game, either on the blocking or whatever. He's got an opportunity to do it too.
Yeah, that'd be good. Line. Yeah, and Trey Lance isn't playing in this game against Minnesota, so we'll just be seeing Sudfeld and Purdy for the entire game, but then Lance will be playing against the Texans in Week 3, so. That should be interesting. See what these backup quarterbacks have to offer, man. They were okay in Week 1. We both said that the 8 of 11 from Sudfeld was a little deceiving. But, yeah, we'll see.
That was a Garoppolo stat line. Which kind of makes the re-signing of him kind of confusing to me. 49ers always have a couple, whether in the draft or signings, deals that are just confusing. And to give him an extension I didn't see it, or not an extension, to give him a contract. It didn't make sense to me. He doesn't fit Trey Lance in his scheme or anything. Steve's having technical issues, but I think we're good. Can you hear me?
I'm good, yes. My headphones apparently died.
Sure.
But I can do like this.
No problem. Just to reiterate, the Sudfeld signing always never really clicked for me, especially when you look at Trey Lance's development. Again, beat the drum. Purdy always seemed like the kind of developmental piece behind Trey Lance. I don't get the Sudfeld deal. That's a Garoppolo backup. Hopefully everything works out, though, but they'll have plenty of opportunity to show what they can do.
Yeah, man. So what do you think with this Vikings game, man? We're going to see a lot of backup quarterbacks, and I don't know who I'll be playing exactly yet, but let's try to throw out a score prediction.
All right, score prediction, and I'll give you a player game on offense and defense. How about that?
Okay, nice.
All right, player of the game on offense, Brock Purdy. Throws for $150, 12 for 17, 3 touchdowns and a pick.
Okay.
Score 31-20, 49ers. And on defense, I will go Drake Jackson.
Nice. I love it. I will go score prediction 23-20, 49ers.
Oh, close.
Yeah, a close one. I'll say my offensive player of the game is I'm going to go Trey Sermon, man.
Really? That 6 for 11 outing last week really inspired you.
It did. No, weird stuff happens in the preseason. So, and I'll go George Odom on defense.
All right. I like it, man.
Yeah.
I like it. And especially leading into this next week, I think what you're going to see, we talked about guys there briefly at the end as we're kind of regrouping. Podcast is off the rails, but talking about guys that are on the chopping block, this is the week to prove it because next week is the tune-up game for the season. I'm going to be curious to see who gets ample playing time because I don't think anybody's going to get pulled for poor performance. You'll see stuff like Purdy will probably get the second half and Sudfeld the first half.
Yeah.
That's going to be laid out.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to ride hot hands in the backfield, and they're going to ride hot hands on defense. And they're going to give guys plenty of playing time and plenty of opportunity to prove themselves. So we'll see what happens. But the more guys play, I feel like, especially late into the game, the more their job security is in question.
Yeah, that's true, man. It's true. Anything else to add before we close this thing out? And I'm assuming you have a fact of the week for us.
I do have a fact of the week. Are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Are you a fan of Hawaiian pizza? I know you like pizza. You a fan of Hawaiian pizza?
No.
Will you eat it if it's offered?
I'll take the pineapple off, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Yeah.
Where do you think it came from? One would guess Hawaii, right?
One would guess that, and I would understand why they would guess that. But
okay, good answer. Good answer. Hawaiian pizza was created in Ontario, Canada, by a Greek immigrant named San Panopoulos in 1962. So a Greek man who came to Canada invented the Hawaiian pizza.
Wow. Greek man making what's really now an American food off the coast of the United States in Canada. Wow.
Yeah, and they always said America was the melting pot of the world. No, sir.
Yeah, man, it's kind of like Mario, you know?
How so?
A guy that was made in Japan, looks like a Mexican, but sounds like an Italian.
All right.
And on that note, it's been the 49-Yard Dash podcast. Next week we'll have another preseason game to go over. No Trey Lance, unfortunately, but that week 1 game is coming soon. Let's start 1-0. Bears should be an easy outing, but we're not there yet. But I'm Steven. That's Josh. This has been the 49-Yard Dash. Peace out.
Thank you for listening.